Mayonaka punch. This is another big one. This is another big one where I sat there where I'm like, oh. So, a while back, right? Like, I want to say it was like the first or second episode of this. I said that Mayonaka punch probably wouldn't be anywhere near my, like, wouldn't actually be anywhere near my top, just because I thought, like, oh yeah, like, the premise is cool, and the premise is nice, the premise, whatever. It wasn't, like, doing anything for me, if I'm being completely honest. And so I always thought it was going to be maybe like a 6 out of 10, 6.5. That opinion has now aggressively changed. Because if I can find the fucking show notes, I will explain to you why that is. Okay, so episode 4, right? So episode 4, we actually get another background story. Kind of similar to how they're doing Code, but just a lot less impactful. But still impactful nonetheless. Actually, arguably more, depending on what happened. So, there's the episode where Fu's been kind of quiet. She's kind of been in the background. We don't really hear much about her. And so we finally get an episode kind of surrounding her. And while trying to find, like, the next video that they could do, Mazuki actually stumbles upon Fu's tape recorder, hears her listens to her sing, and realizes, oh, you're actually, like, really talented. But Fu's just like, I can't sing again because I really don't want to sing again, and I just can't. I just can't because I don't deserve it. And so they find out that she doesn't want to sing because Fu used to have a friend that she used to sing with. And while they were going to, and like the friend was like, oh, we should audition, we should do this, not telling her that she was a vampire, and not telling her that, like, oh, she can't really go outside, she can't really do these things. And so what happened was Masaki's kind of like pushing Fu to do it. It goes to the point where, like, Masaki goes as even far to find out a place where she performed to try to get more information on her, which I think it was either New York or London. It was one of those two places that she finds out. I'm pretty sure it's New York from what I remember. But Fu kind of sits there and she's just like, okay, you know, it's been so long, I should probably get some form of answers. And so there's like an address that she goes to where like they're performing, and they set it up right, like there could potentially be a reunion. And so they set it up because the bar just got out from like a concert or something like that. You see two girls who are outside. They're like, you know, they're trying to. It sounds like they're trying to catch an Uber. One of them is sick. I don't fucking know. But she goes upstairs, and sees her old guitar, her old friend's guitar, and it's like immortalized on the wall and stuff like that. Was it French? I'm not gonna lie. I forget. I'm pretty sure it was New York. But Fu and the bartender actually get to talking. And when Fu comes back, you see that she has the suitcase, which makes you assume that maybe she found a friend. Then you find out they just drop nonchalantly that she's just fucking dead. Like, they just go, and they're just like, oh, Fu, you're back from New York. Like, oh, well, like, what did you find out? And she's like, oh, she's dead. And, like, she says it with, like, a happy voice, but it was one of those things where I think she's just relieved that she'll never get an answer. Like, it's one of those things where it's just like, you know, I didn't want an answer, but, like, seeing that she still made music and seeing how happy she was, it still, like, inspires her to want to do stuff and, like, whatnot. And, like, and it seems like that was going to be kind of, like, the somber end, right? Where it's like the friend's dead, and like this friend's dead, she had her grieving process, but like she might actually be able to move on. Weirdly enough, in the sense of just like, I can know that like at the very least, like there's not that hanging over my head. And she's like, I'm just never going to get an answer. I'm gonna try and say this without crying, because I swear to God, this made me cry for like a good 10 minutes, because this show did like one of the very few things I know if it ever happened to me, I would fucking lose my emotional shit with how deep this is. Well, not with how impactful this was. So Ichigo and oh my god, I forget the gambling vampire's name. But Ichigo and that girl, they're going through like the suitcase, right? They're just fucking with it, seeing if they can scrounge anything for it, you know, yada yada yada. I think her name was Tayo. I mean, actually, let me see that, because I'm remembering everyone's name from this anime for some fucking reason. So I might remember that girl. Tokage. Okay. I knew it was something like Toyaga or Tokaga or something like that. So Tokage and Ichiko are going through like the entire. So they're going through the entire suitcase, and they find a disc. They find a disc where it was some girl that she befriended, that her friend befriended in New York, and it goes off, and the girl explains that, oh yeah, I want to make it big, and like I still do music. Like, why do you do it? And it's just like, and she like goes off, and she's like, because the whole thing was Fu sister being like, I know for a fact that she was like, oh, she goes back and she was just like, I know that she was mad at me, and I know that she goes off and she was just like, I know that she was mad at me, and I know that she was upset, but I know she had her reasons. And I'm not, and she was just like, I'm not mad at her. I want her to know that I'm not mad at her. And I hope that she's still, I hope that she's performing. Like, this actually hurt. This actually hurt watching, because it's one of those things where it's like, if I ever get a message from a dead friend, like if there's a message where it's like it's a friend, it's not anyone that I would hate, but someone who I thought I harmed or thought I did something wrong, finding out they're dead, and finding out they never hated me, and like knowing that friendship could have been rekindled if I just fucking said, that hurts. I think for her, that was one of those things that like, oh, that hurt too. Because she's sitting there being like, she had her reasons. I understand that. I don't hate her. And I'm still doing music. And I hope she knows that I'm still doing music. And I hope that she's doing music too. Because she's beautiful and her voice needs to be heard. As she's going off, she's crying. I'm crying. Everyone in that fucking house is crying. Because you're sitting there and you're just like, fuck. That is actually a beautiful thing. Like, I would love that as just like either a movie or some type of one shot. Because that was beautiful. That unironically made Fu my favorite character in the show. 100%. I love Fu so much because of that. Because that was such a touching story. Unironically, like, so fucking wholesome and so fucking good. For no reason. They didn't have to do that. They did not have to go that fucking hard, but they did. And it was nice. And it was enjoyable. And then the episode ends in a random ass recording booth where Fu is performing the fucking song. And it made me cry even more because it's one of those things where it's like, well, now she's just gonna try to live out her rich fucking dream. This fucking sucks. And it sucks to cry, but it was so beautiful. I'm like, fuck. This is sad. It feels like I'm at the end of a story, but I'm not. I have like 8 more episodes of this anime. Holy fucking shit. Just so you know, this episode alone is a fucking 10 out of 10. I love the way it is. I love the way that it impacted. I probably, honestly, sitting on it, I definitely would say more like a 9 out of 10 because the rest of the story was like okay and like kind of rushed. But that impact, damn. Sometimes it is really just how you leave him. And it left me crying. Like, I had to take a good 30 minutes to compose myself and like sit there and be like, man, this is sad. This is fucking sad. This fucking hurts. This is like the second podcast in a row right now where something has made me cry. Because it's just that intense. Fuck, man. Needless to say, disappointingly, none of the episodes reached those heights. There's one that attempts it, but it never reached that height. Because episode 7, episode 7 is literally just like a casual, not a casual episode, but they're like trying to record a survival beach thing. They forget the blood, and so they're just at the they're at the beach for several days, just forgetting their blood and shit like that. Masaki eventually comes to save them and stuff like that. Then there's episode 8, where we do get that same thing, and also a little bit of lore though, where we actually find out like when Ichiko got turned into a vampire, she herself was really, really young. We're talking about like she was like, I don't even think she was like a double digit like human at that point where she got turned, and she actually thanks a lot. She actually like gives thanks a lot to Mother, because without Mother, because like if Mother just came a bit sooner, like that probably could have been invented. But that's why Mother stepped in eventually, because she sat there, she was just like, oh yeah, no, you cannot be doing this shit whatsoever. We also do get a glimpse of Mother in a sense in this episode in 2 times. Once is because in the beginning of the episode when Masaki is trying to come back home. No, when Ichiko is trying to come back home, because you know she's still a kid in a sense, and so she's coming home and Tokage is being thrown out of the fucking wall and ends up making like a big explosion so big it gets on the fucking news, and Yuki and all them was just, and Yuki and Mother's just like, you guys can't keep fucking doing this. Like, you can't keep fucking bringing attention to the fucking vampire world that we're trying to keep secret. You need to fucking stop it. Stop! And so they're trying to explain themselves and all that. And the first time we we see the presence of Mother, we don't actually see her. She's like behind the curtain. But there's a point where like Liv is like blaming something on someone, right? Where she's like, oh, this is bullshit. We want to stay at the house. We're not delinquents. This is fucking insane. This is stupid. You're dumb. And all we see is a breeze go under the curtains and Liv's arms just gone. They're completely cut off. Clean the fuck cut off. I mean, it's not a serious injury, but like it shows what they could what Mother could do with the power that she has. It's basically one of those things of just like if they wanted to fight back, they basically stand no chance. And so like the episode revolves around like Ichiko being like, it's like, oh well, like I'd like to try to keep the house. I'd like to try to I'd like to try to stay together, and everyone else is kind of just like I mean, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Who cares? And Ichiko is just like, why am I the only one that cares about this? Like, we've been through so fucking much. Why are you guys just so okay with leaving? Which, honest to God, is a good point. Like, if it wasn't for Ichiko, Live would just not have had anyone around. Everyone would have just probably like gone away by this point. Which is something like they don't ever think about, but you know, it's whatever. And so what Ichiko tries to do is like bring them like, together again, and actually like, you know, try to be like, hey, let's come together. Let's try to like figure out something. And everyone is out doing their own thing, to the point where like Masaki's still there and being like, what's going on? It's like, oh, we usually cook together. And they're like, you know, when they found me, I was a vampire with like no real place to go. But Live and them took me in and entertained my little babblings of, hey, we should have dinner together. We don't have to eat, but they entertain it because they love me, because they care about me. And so what they do, and so what happens is Masaki like confronts them because she's sitting there like, oh, like what is she doing? And Masaki's like, you're going in there right the fuck now, and you were eating fucking dinner with her. I don't give a shit. You go in there fucking out. Hey, get up. And so they do that thing, and they come up, and so like while they're all bonding, they do that stuff. They come up with an idea of like what we could do in order to like convince her. And so they ask for another audience with Mother, and Yuki brings like a laptop. And so they do this bell thing where it's like, I think they're playing like Christmas music. And I sit there and like, even I to an extent was just like, what the fuck is this? And Yuki also says that like, what the fuck are you guys doing? I mean, I get the point. It's like, hey, we're so in sync because we're so bond together. That's like the closest we have, which I get it, but it was one of those things like, listen, I get what you're trying to do, but this is not working. And eventually the plea happened, especially with Ichiko, where it's just like, hey, I didn't ask for this, okay? This is like the only people that would take me back, and I don't want to live with anybody else, because like, this is my fucking home. I like being in this manor. I like being in this mansion because these are the people that took me in after my life got fucked and I didn't have a fucking choice. And so like I thought that was gonna be the sympathy plea, which wasn't. But then like Masaki shows the recording like, no, they are genuinely like good people. Like call them what you want, a bad oranges, but like this is them. This is their good people. And it's just like. And I forget what causes this, but then now it gets tied to like, which, okay, hold on. Before I say that, I do in fact appreciate the fact that there's a bit of an attachment with, I do appreciate that they give a goal to the vampires as well, because Live had a reason for getting to 1 million, Masaki had a reason to getting to 1 million, but Fu, Tokage, and Ichiko didn't really have a reason. They're only kind of doing it just because, well, Liv was kind of doing it. That was kind of like the only reason those guys were doing it. And so, like, for them at the very least, it was kind of one of those things where it's just like, yeah, like, it's nice for, like, the other two or the other three to at least have a goal of just like, oh, yeah, if we can, like, you know, if we can go ahead and get to 1 million, we can stay in the house. But now a year turns into 6 months. So now they have to figure out how to get to 1 million in 6 months, which is crazy. That's a lot. It's possible, but it's a lot. And then the last episode, which I think was either 7 or 8. It's like I think it was like 7, where they get invited to a convention. Not a convention, to a performance. Think of like how some of those podcasters and some YouTubers, not like music YouTubers, but like how like I think it was Rubber Ross and Aaron Hansen, who like they have like their content collab tour thing happening where they have like their Scrabble show. Think of like that, but like some dude just brings like a bunch of the competitors to come up and just do like silly games and do performances and stuff like that. It's something like that. And like just to summarize the episode, it quickly just goes to fucking shit. And it's not even like their fault. Like the singing is done by Fu. She gets stage fright, which is not fucking great. The only thing that actually, there's two that only go into their favor, where Tokage is playing in a game where you gotta like, I forget the actual celebrity's name, and there's a lot of celebrity. There's like a lot of influence in this event. But they play a game where it's like, oh, you're tied, you have weights on your ankles, so you gotta like play red light, green light. Try not to fall over, obviously. And Tokage is just like, oh, aren't you going to play? It's just like, I'm not really feeling it. Like, I'll win this and I'll wait. I'll wait eventually. And then there's two people, I forget their names, but in a previous episode, in like the episode after the Fu episode, Fu likes these content creators who are like these two twins or these two friends who are like, they're like, yeah, we're like the crazy fucking twins, like, blah, 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 blah. And like they entered the game late and enter this game, which I have to assume is fucking staged, by the way. And so they like kind of cheat, but the dude's just like, hey, who cares? Who fucking cares? But Tokage, being like, oh shit, they're about to win, uses her fucking powers to like super strengthen all the way to the dude. And so now she's just a fan favorite. Everyone's just like, oh, whoa, the fucking, the Mayonaka Punch Crew fucking won. And so the dudes that Fu was fawning over, they love Tokage. They're like, Tokage, I admit my love to you. Fu doesn't like that, so now Fu's sad and angry. Tokage doesn't fucking like these dudes, but now they're attached to the hip to her, so now she's fucking upset. Then Live goes to try to do her thing, but she drinks an energy drink that has fucking garlic in them, so she's fucking knocked out. Actually, before that even happens, well, that happens. While all that's happening, Ichiko is like going to cook a meal, and like it's not going bad. She just outright fucking dips for like a split second. No one knows where she went. She just went to go buy some fucking food, which I find is hilarious. She was just like, oh, well, I need like this, I needed like almond milk. Go fucking in there. And then she said like, yeah, I made like, I think it was like almond tofu or some shit like that. It's like, you were supposed to make something else. And she was just like, oh. And she's like, I fucked up. And she's like, honestly, you probably fucked up the least out of everyone. You at least made up food. And so while this is happening, Live has to go out there, and she's high as shit, because in this universe, garlic just makes vampires high as fuck. And so she's like high as fuck, floating and shit. She's like, her powers are very much in display. But they play it off in a sense where it's just like, oh, haha, it's like in a performance. That doesn't matter though, because there's a plumber content creator who apparently gets outed during the event because he's cheating on his wife, and so that just ruins the whole thing. Everyone fucking hates him and shit, because now he's just being fucking canceled, which is the funniest fucking thing of just like, I could genuinely just see that in real life of someone in real time during an event like this getting canceled, and everyone just fucking turning on them, being like, we want fucking answers. So they're just like, fuck my life, let's skip it. And like, it plays off so well that no one even notices Live, and the main dude is running it, like, hey, I am so sorry for that. I did not mean for him to like ruin the event like that. So they get like a redeeming type of quality, which I like, because like I said before, that's a real thing that could happen. I could see that happening of a content creator just getting canceled just live. I'm pretty sure that has happened. Who fucking knows? But the final performance was the Mayonaka Punch performing and stuff like that. And so, you know, the lights cut out, the power's going on. There's like, we already get a hint because Yuki's watching over them. But there was a girl that was sitting next to Yuki who was like obsessed with like the two guy content creators that Tokage is being chased after now. So she turns off the power because Masaki tries to go find the source of why the power's out. Thought it was upstairs, wasn't that reason. Goes to find out it's this crazed fucking fan that's just randomly there. Yuki's also high again. All while recording this whole thing. So my thing of what's going to happen in the next episode is either that footage is going to be leaked somehow, Masaki's going to have her reputation blown up again, all this bad shit's going to happen, yada, yada, yada. Also, nice little touch. When they all go, they notice that Mayonaka Punch is with Masaki, and she's still, no in the spirit, which I appreciate. People, notice her, but they don't really, say anything. But it is acknowledged, which I do appreciate. I actually appreciate that a lot, because it's one of those, really nice, not nitpicky things, but it's one of those, really nice things of, thank you for at least being someone, conduit? No. What is the word I'm looking for? Consistent. Thank you for being consistent with this aspect. But yeah, honest to God, I'm enjoying the Mayonaka Punch a lot more than I did it before. That was good. That episode, those couple episodes were good. It's getting really enjoyable. I'm having more fun with this than I am. It's kind of the episode of my friend where it's I am having more fun with this the more episodes it goes on, and I'm enjoying myself. I'm enjoying myself a lot with this. Honest to God, I didn't think it was going to get out of the 6 range. If I were to give it something now, I'd probably give it a 7. It's now, I think Mayonaka Punch has now reached the point where it's just okay, you're doing things good. Your execution's still not super great, but your execution's enough to be okay, that's good, you're good. So that's nice. Mayonaka Punch has definitely been the most surprising improvement for me this year so far, because that show's bringing it. I'll give it that. That show is definitely bringing it.